Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with us, and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. Before we get to the show, I just want to mention a few things. Initial Ascent packs, they're awesome. I used the 2K all last season. I'm still using it now for stuff. I'm going to be using it for training for prepping for my hunt and getting some miles in with some weight on my back. And I just recently picked up a 6K, and it's going to be awesome as well. Plan on using it on my elk hunt along with the 2K if I'm doing some day hunts or something and having a base camp. But if I'm packing on my back and going in there, depending on where I'm at, I'm going to be using that 6K. Dennis and Joe are amazing people. What's awesome about that company is you can reach out to them, and they're the ones who are going to answer your call and actually talk to you about their product. And you're going to even get a handwritten note from them thanking you for your purchase and wishing you luck on that hunt. And I just find that is super awesome and amazing in this day and age to have somebody that does that for you and actually hand writes a note for you is just amazing. And on top of that, it's an American-made product. And one thing about this podcast is, and myself, is just that anything that's American-made that I can support or get behind and it's a quality product, I'm going to talk about it. This is not a paid promotion. I'm honestly just talking to you about an amazing pack. So check them out. If you don't have one or you're looking for a pack, give them a try. You'll like it for sure. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about treelineacademy.net. Treelineacademy.net is the most comprehensive e-scouting course ever made. Mark Livesey is just an amazing wealth of knowledge, and he's willing to share that with everybody. So check that out and see what's going on there with that. Use promo code PC2020. Save yourself 20% on sign up. It's awesome. And actually, it's not 20%. It's $20. Save yourself $20 off a sign up. Then the next one I want to talk about is Basemap. Basemap app with their hunt data, the online mapping system for e-scouting, setting waypoints, smart markers. So you have all your hunt data on the wind and anything as long as you have a cell signal. It's absolutely amazing. There's so much more that's coming out. They've updated their offline maps, so they're way faster than they used to be, which I know a lot of people were actually kind of complaining about that, but now they're lightning fast. I've downloaded them, used them. It's awesome. On top of that, they've got some new updates that are coming out that are just going to blow you away. Can't talk about them yet, but we will be talking about them. So check them out. Use promo code PC25. Save yourself 25% on sign up, only on the website, not on the app. And with that being said, let's get to our show. All right, so I'm sitting here and I am talking to Brian Austin of actually a couple different things. So Brian, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to introduce yourself, and we will get into this conversation a little deeper, man.
All right. Well, Luke, thanks for having me on here. Like Luke said, I'm Brian Austin. I'm the owner of GFB Outdoors and the Beast Mode Archery Challenge, based out of Wisconsin. Been doing fitness and archery pretty much my whole life. So, yeah, that's where GFB comes into play. GFB Outdoors, Get Fit with Brian Outdoors. I do personal training, boot camp classes, and I kind of specialize in a lot of hunter fitness classes, prepping people for the Beast Mode Archery Challenges and other hunter athlete events, as well as getting people ready for their upcoming hunts in the fall, whether that be, Midwest whitetail hunting, backpack, fishing trips, and of course the elk hunts that a lot of us love to do and try to do every year. So, yeah.
So Brian, I'm kind of curious. I mean, you're I know that you went and started the outdoors thing, but was it always that way, or did you just try and combine your passion with is it passion of fitness, passion of hunting? You married them both. What was the kind of driving force there?
Yeah, I would say it's I guess it's more of a passion for hunting and the outdoors, and fitness is just something that I've always done. It's what I went to school for. I've been a personal trainer now for 21 years. And I guess fitness was always an important role in my life just to be fit and doing different activities. And then it wasn't until, maybe 6 years ago when I started competing in the train to hunt events. And that event kind of meshed the two together for me and brought fitness and my love of archery and bow hunting together. And then I competed as a competitor for a few years, and then eventually directed some of the train to hunt events, and then that led into some of the indoor events that I do, and now what is known today as the Beast Mode Archery Challenge.
That's
So
awesome. So I got to say, I think we're going to have to do a little private event because you don't really compete a whole lot anymore. And I got a buddy who, another podcast buddy, Kyle Mork, and he said
yeah,
one of the reasons why he got so addicted to it was because he was competing against you, and he never quite beat you, and he wanted redemption. So I think at some point we might have to put on a publicly challenged event and have you go against him head to head.
I would absolutely love that because now that I've evolved my business into this, I missed that part of the events. Now instead of training for 2 hours a day, I'm preparing for the event in one way or the other, whether that be a social media post or coming up with some of the regulations and rules for the events. But yeah, my training has significantly declined. I still get out and practice with my bow several times a week. I do my boot camp classes and I try to do my hunter fitness stuff when I can. But when I have 15, 20 people in that class running around with their bow and arrow, I can't really be participating and making sure everybody's safe and doing the right thing. So, dude, I would love to do something like that, but I just need several months in advance to train for it.
Oh,
I'm not at my peak fitness like I used to
now
be.
neither am
So
I due to the all the stupid shutdowns and all that kind of crap. Let's just face it, a lot of us aren't. And I wish I could make time to go to the regular gym, but I dedicated just a little bit of time in the basement now, and bought some equipment to try and just keep going and pushing forward. Because let's face it, I realized one day you step out of that shower and you look in the mirror and you go, oh man, what did I let myself get to? I don't own a scale because I don't really believe in trying to weigh myself. It's more of your feel and how you feel that strength and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how do you kind of measure your clients?
right there, I don't personally own a scale. Most of my clients probably don't own scales. Some of them might do, and I might advise some of them to weigh themselves from time to time, depending on what their goals are or some of their health situations that they're in. But really, in terms of fitness and training for you know especially for like elk hunting or just being active in the outdoors, I'm with you there. It's not really your weight. Yes, it's important to a certain degree, but it's more about your mobility and can you get around the way that you want to get around. Do you have the flexibility? Do you have the range of motion? But then also, uh, can you get up and down the hills or the mountains as quickly as you want? So that kind of all plays with one another. And for the most part, if you're not getting up and down the hills as quickly as you want, then you're probably going to start watching what you eat a little bit better, and not necessarily going on a diet. I'm not a big diet person, but there's definitely a time and place when you should be watching what you're eating and eating different things, and or just being more active. It's the old saying, you can't out train a bad diet. There is some truth to that. That we shouldn't probably be eating ice cream every night right before bedtime as much as we want that. That does catch up to us eventually.
So I've been doing the intermittent fasting thing right now, and I'm trying to go like 16 hours without food and just hydration to keep my body to get itself to repair and everything. What's your kind of thoughts on that? Do you condone
Yeah,
it or go against it or what?
I've done that. I think I've tried to do that myself. I know people that have had great success with it. I know people that haven't had great success with it. I think each person needs to test that out and try it out on their own. For me personally, it's I didn't see a big weight loss. I might have felt a little bit better, but just with my schedule, when I was trying to get that 16 and 18-hour fast, I was getting lightheaded and dizzy. And when I'm working with clients all morning long, I get irritable as well when I don't have food or something in me. So, for the sake of keeping my clients around me, I've had to, limit my intermittent fasting. But I tell you what, after this past week and the amount of food I ate, I feel like I need to fast for like 2 weeks. So, um, but no, I think that there's a time and place for that. I think that that it's going to work for some people and it's not going to work for others,
Yeah.
really.
I don't know if I've
Um,
necessarily actually shedded weight, but just the fact that I force myself to hydrate more. You're more cognizant of your intake when you're doing that. So, I only drink 1 cup of coffee now because if I drink any more than that, I
oh,
start getting jittery. I start, having all those other things, and it forces you to drink it like you probably should be drinking it black anyway. Um, and then I notice though that I hydrate more because of that, and then I actually feel better. I'm more alert, more awake in the morning. I mean, let's face it, our bodies are so dehydrated anyway from just
right.
waking up and it doing the natural processes that normally what's the first thing people do? They go grab coffee, a diuretic, and they actually dehydrate themselves instead of rehydrating, and then they get that huge crash. So I will say from that standpoint, it's really made a difference in my lifestyle that way. But other than that, I don't know necessarily if it actually um, changes. Plus, like the first week I did it, I noticed that I was so hungry I'd almost gorge on food versus trying
Right.
to actually just eat my normal meals where you're actually just skipping a meal and but I'm finally getting the groove of it. But there was a point where I was at work and it was like week 1, day 3, and I started getting lightheaded, dizzy, all these different things, and just almost feeling nauseous even. And I told the guy, I said, a guy I was working with, and we had a place we had to go, and it was a super super hot thing we had to go into and go work on something. And I go, there's a 50-50 chance I'm either going to puke or pass out. And he looks at me, he's like, oh,
Right.
come on, Lukey, you can do it. And we ended up going in and working out. And the heat actually, I think, helped me because, and just the motion and the momentum, it took my mind off of it. Because a lot of times, let's face it, most people eat because they're bored. It's not because they're hungry, it's to
I
pass
agree.
that time. And
Right.
it's also made me cognizant, especially in the morning. I've got meetings and stuff going on, and it's like the in between those things, that's when the boredom sets in and you start eating things versus actually just focusing on hydration and doing other tasks. So in that aspect, I think it's worked pretty good for me.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on a few things there. One, that kind of reminded me that intermittent fasting is probably going to work for people that are just looking to make a change to be healthier, maybe to try to change their weight or their body composition. But I don't think it's something that's great for people that are trying to train and be athletic for an event like at the Beast Mode Archery Challenge event. Or if they're, putting on a lot of miles running or a lot of miles packing. I think uh, it's okay, but I think that they would benefit or have better performance if they were eating a regular diet than doing the intermittent fasting. That's just from my experience in working with people, but to each their own. And some people might have different results from that. But back to your point about the 1 cup of coffee a day, I'm down to 1 pot of coffee a day, so I'm almost there, I guess.
I, that says something though, because I am a not only a coffee junkie but a coffee snob, and most coffee that people drink, I'll turn my nose to it, and I roast my own coffee. I grind my own coffee. I only drink coffee that's been ground fresh. I'm
Oh,
pretty bad about it, but so it's easier for me because now I have to bring my own coffee. I press it out. I use the little AeroPress and make my own cup. But it's just a
yeah,
better cup. It's easier to drink it. I will say that it's easier to drink it black than the other stuff. But I mean, that's all health choices anyway, right?
right,
But
exactly.
so I'm kind of curious, what's your take on intermittent fasting? Because lately I've been getting up and running on the treadmill first thing in the morning, and then hydrate the rest of the day until it's time for lunch. But what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Again, I think for weight wise, for health wise, I think you'll probably be fine with that. Uh, Studies do show that people, if you're training to be, again, athletic or for a certain event, you're probably going to have a better results by having something before that workout, just to kind of spike up that blood sugar a little bit and give you a little bit of energy. But It really comes down to, and I've been asked 1,001 questions about diet and exercise and stuff, and it really, there's not necessarily a wrong and right way of doing things. It all depends on what your goals and your objectives are, and to match that with what your daily habits should be. The daily habits of a marathoner are going to be a lot different than the daily habits of a power lifter.
Yeah,
So, I
for
mean,
sure. Yeah.
the workouts of a power lifter isn't wrong or isn't bad, but if you're trying to train for a marathon, you probably should be doing different stuff. So that's why I say there's no wrong or right way. It just depends on what your goals and your objectives are, and to test things and play around with things. The whole intermittent fasting or doing workouts fasting, see how it works. Some people do great, other people, they totally bonk halfway through it. So is it really worth doing that workout, and you're only doing half of the workout or half of the intensity as what you could be because you're fasting? That's still to be determined, and to each person to figure that out. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, I will say mine's not a full workout. It's actually just getting on and doing a little bit of a run. But I'm kind of curious. So let's talk about like a hunter then. What are we? I mean, like high intensity, different interval training. What kind of stuff for the guy that wants to go out and hit the backcountry and hit it hard? Something like that. What are you focused on?
Yeah, so I guess you could break it up into seasons. Like we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. You could almost break your workouts to kind of match those seasons. You should be. I think the one area that some hunters kind of avoid is strength training. In order to be able to climb a mountain, you have to have strength. I mean, of course, you have to have endurance and cardio and stuff. But if you don't have the strength to get yourself up the mountain, uh, it's going to be a struggle fest. So I think a lot of times when people struggle, especially in the mountains, it's maybe not necessarily that they don't have the cardio, it's that they possibly don't have the strength, especially if they're carrying a weighted pack on, which we probably are all doing that. So I think if people focused on building strength early in the season, and then transitioned into some longer pack hikes and building that cardio and building that base, and then adding in some high intensity training, something you don't have to do every day, but definitely at least 2 times, maybe even 3 times a week. Um, there's all that is playing on different energy systems in our body. We need strength to carry a heavy pack. We need cardio to be able to go all day, along with stamina. But then we need that high intensity training, because a lot of times, let's say we're going after that bugling bull and we have 30 minutes of light left. That's not really going
Yeah.
to be, that's not endurance anymore. That's all high intensity. And you're kind of working with your anaerobic threshold there of going as fast as you can for as long as you can. So that's something I think also a lot of people kind of avoid because it's uncomfortable training. Going out for a run or doing a pack hike, you're kind of in that comfort zone. But then when you start doing high, bursts of energy, whether it be sprints or hill repeats or whatever it might be, that's where we're going to get uncomfortable. Our heart rates are going to rise. We're going to get nauseous and stuff like that. So that's where uh, again, that's going to be critical if you're hunting elk or something where you might have to have those short, fast bursts of speed.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I think one of the things like I always lack is I'll put that pack on and I'll set an unrealistic goal. I'll always achieve it just because I force myself to do it and I do something stupid like, yeah, I'm going to do, 150 miles or 200 miles in, this month and a half or whatever before season. And and I do it and I force myself, but I feel like sometimes I'm almost depleting myself of, strength in other areas because of that. Is that kind of a common occurrence that people do? They don't really they set a goal, they set out, they do it, but they don't maintain everything else that they should be doing or
Right. I agree with you there. I think in this world of Cam Hanes and Jocko and Goggins, which they're all great people. I love what they do. I love what they stand for. But some of us have to put things into perspective and into reality. Do we have the time to train like they do? Do we have the resources like they do to get massages every day, to, whatever it might be, so we can recover on a daily basis to go out and do that? Most of us don't have that or don't have the time to do that. So I think the one thing that a lot of people do is they overtrain, not necessarily overtrain, they under recover. So they don't allow their bodies to recover. They go out and do a hike day after day after day, or they do the same thing day after day after day. Instead of breaking that up, do a hike one day, do a high intensity training one day, do, interval training. But you got to allow your body to recover. Otherwise, you're not going to get, you know, better, faster, stronger, whatever it might be. Because that's really the only time that our bodies get uh, stronger or faster is during our recovery time. So you got to have your recovery time, and your sleep is just as important as your training. And with folks that have little kids or a busy job, the recovery is the one thing that kind of lacks for people's training. So we got to take that into consideration. But again, like I said before, everybody's different. Some people need more recovery than other people. Some people can go out and do it day after day after day, but there will come a time when their bodies will start breaking down. So yes, to your point, I think when you just focus on one thing, you're not going to be a well-rounded hunter. You're not going to be as healthy and as fit as you could be. So you got to mix things up, and you can do stuff. You don't need a gym membership. I don't have a gym membership. I train my clients in a small studio, but I don't work out there. I do most of my stuff outside, whether it be with a sandbag or with my backpack or whatever it might be. So,
Yeah, that's I mean, like when I said what I said, I put the weighted pack on and I'll do those things. But I've noticed I even neglect my shots, everything, archery, right? I kind of lose focus on that and start focusing on the aspect of the training and putting those miles in with that weighted pack on and doing all that kind of stuff. Or I to your point of the recovery thing, I hate recovery days on my treadmill with the iFit. I skip those days and I just go and pick a different trainer to run with. it's it's kind of a problem,
yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, what would you say to somebody like that? Would you tell them, okay, that's fine, you want to do something, pick something else, or work on different segments, or what would the advice to that be?
Yeah, it could be both. It could be just lower your intensity down. It could be lower the time that you're training down. I think a lot of people they get so set on one thing, and they become tunnel vision and narrow minded and with their training schedule, that try different things. I mean, foam rolling and stretching is huge, because if our muscles aren't pliable, then when we actually work them, we're working them in a smaller range of motion. So instead of strengthening that muscle through the full range of motion, we're only strengthening it in a portion of that. So I think during some recovery days, you should have some foam rolling, some stretching, whatever that might be, maybe a massage gun, whatever, trips your trigger with that. But that's that's a big thing. And then do something that's different than what you would normally do, I guess. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be going into a club. It could be taking your weighted backpack and doing different exercises with that weighted backpack. You can still get your heart rate up. You can still work your muscles. You're just working them either differently or working different muscles.
So two things on that. One is when you say weighted backpack, you mean your initial ascent pack, right? Is that
That's right.
just in case Joe's listening here.
Right, Joe and
Dennis, if you're listening, you heard that too. Hopefully, make your day. But yeah. And then the other thing is like, I mean, so when you train your clients and they're going to hunt, do you incorporate archery and all that kind of stuff into their training?
Yes, it all depends on who it is and how much time we have to train them. So definitely the people that are coming to my hunter fitness class, archery is a big component of it. I have some one-on-one clients that I train virtually or in person, and we incorporate some archery with that as well too. So we do some exercises. We do some shooting with an elevated heart rate. We shoot from different stances. We might be shooting from the knees. We might be standing, then kneeling. Just different ways, different things that you might encounter when you're hunting, and that kind of plays into then the whole beast mode archery challenge and kind of how we do stuff with that. But yes, archery is a big component of it because you can be as fit as Cameron Haynes, but if you can't hit the broadside of a barn, it's not going to do you any good, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I've heard two schools of thought, which makes me think about that when you talk about the elevated heart rate. I've heard some people say that you should practice and practice and practice without that elevated heart rate just to get to where it's everything, your technique, your form is so perfect that even when you have an elevated heart rate, your body still kind of takes over that process and you shoot and you're consistently accurate. And then I've also heard, which I don't know, I haven't really looked into it enough myself, but practice with that elevated heart rate so that way you can adjust. Even though the other people in the school of thought say that with that elevated heart rate, you're forcing those shots to be accurate under that heart rate, in which case you actually make yourself a worse shooter in the other direction. I don't know what. So what's your thought on that? Because it sounds like you're one of the guys that goes with the elevated heart rate in practice.
Yeah, that's a great question. For first of all, I'm not an archery coach, so uh, but I when I was competing, so I would do both. I would shoot a lot, focusing on form, doing a lot of 3D shoots, and without an elevated heart rate. Because I think you're right. I think if it's somebody who's relatively new to archery, they got to have the fundamentals, and they got to have a base. Otherwise, yes, they could learn bad habits through this type of training. So I do think that there needs to be proper mechanics before people really start doing this type of stuff. Um, but I also think that you need to do, if you're hunting the way that I hunt, backcountry, DIY, elk hunting, there's going to be times where you're going to be out of breath and you're going to come to full draw and you're going to have to focus on your breathing. And I guess for me, it's when I'm training with an elevated heart rate, part of my training then is as I'm drawing back, as I'm getting my bow and drawing back, I'm taking deep breaths. I'm trying to slow my heart rate down and learn how to aim uh, with my heart pounding out of my chest. And I think you can, to a point, separate, the mind and the body and be able to still make a good shot. But it doesn't come natural, I don't think, at least for most people. You got to train like that and practice like that.
Yeah, any of the time that I've ever worked to try and get an elevated heart rate and shoot, it's not a good shot. I mean, I can get it in a kill zone, but it is not a 10. It's never a 10 ring. And I've and when it first started, it was actually, I mean, it'd be like a neck shot or, like really high shoulder or something on the target to where I wouldn't even be in that kill zone. So I think there is something to be said for that as far as, you know, working your way up towards that because I mean, I know that I definitely couldn't do it with that, excessively high heart rate. But then again, I've never actually had the opportunity to have a shot with that elevated heart rate like that. Normally it's a point where I can calm myself down enough or I've been sitting in a tree stand or something like that to where it's mostly mind over matter and adrenaline at that point that you're trying to fight, not necessarily an elevated heart rate from like cardio or something like that.
Right. I think there is some overlay there with training with an elevated heart rate or shooting with an elevated heart rate and buck fever. I think practicing, even if it's just doing jumping jacks or something like that for 30 seconds and then making a shot. I think having an elevated heart rate and your blood pumping, it does simulate a little bit of what you get with, buck fever or whatever you want to call it. So I think that does help. It is different. I mean, when you get buck fever, that's more of a internal emotional, that's increasing your adrenaline, whereas jumping jacks is more of an external uh, factor. But it does in your mind. Your mind has to overcome that the same way. Um, there are guys, some of the guys that do the events, like Greg Hack and Brandon Hirsch. They're two of the guys that I train, and they've placed 1 and 2 or in the top 3 most of the events that they compete in, and they can, you know, be at that top tier in fitness, and they can shoot all hearts at the indoor event. I mean, it's a 5-minute, fast pace, high intensity, your heart's pounding, and they can still pull off heart shots on every shot. So it can be done. I mean, I think Brandon, even the one round, shot all 12 rings. We don't count 12 rings, but he was able to get almost all of his arrows, even in the 12 ring, while competing at a very fast route. But if you watch them, they usually take a little bit longer to shoot. So, like an indoor event, it might be a 5-minute round, and they're very quick, but they may not have the fastest finish time. But because they take maybe just a 3 to 4 extra seconds to make that shot, they will usually, again, almost always hit a heart, if not a lung, while most of the other competitors are maybe hitting lungs, bodies, and every once in a while they'll get a heart. So I think it does help to take that few extra seconds to make that shot when you're talking about the fitness events that we do. In real life, I think in real life that's the same thing too.
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast type thing.
Right.
Yeah, I
right.
mean, that kind of correlates to like 3-gun stuff. And there's a guy that I knew that was kind of a bigger guy, and he wasn't that fast. I mean, he was older and he wasn't that fast, but he never ever missed. So he never had any time deductions for misses or shots that didn't hit on target, and he'd always qualify. I mean, he wouldn't be in the number 1 spot, but he'd always qualify. He'd always be in
Right.
that top 10 spot. So that's pretty cool.
Right. Yep.
No, that's definitely cool. So speaking of all that in your events, let's kind of talk about those and, kind of what they consist of, how you kind of came up with what they are and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you bet. So the Be Smart Archery Challenge has evolved over the last 3 years. It started out as an indoor event to keep people motivated during the winter here in Wisconsin, to keep us training so that we can go into the springtime not being 50 pounds overweight. It's something during the winter to stay motivated. So that event that started out as the Train to Hunt Indoor Archery Challenge. So that's when Kent and I teamed up with Train to Hunt. I told him what I was kind of doing. He's like, hey, let's make this a Train to Hunt event. And we kind of ran with it. And then that's when I became the director of Train to Hunt and stopped competing myself. And then after a year of that, I brought it back as Beast Mode Archery Challenge, and then started. Last year was the first year of having outdoor events. Of course, with the pandemic, it wasn't a good year, to start competitions, and B, to have them, during that time frame. So the events last year looked a lot different than what they're going to this year, just because we have less restrictions and stuff. But they really span from fun 3D shoots to like the BMAC games, which is a fitness and archery challenge, to 3D scrambles. Like in 2 weeks on May 22nd, we're doing the BMAC. BMAC stands for Beast Mode Archer Challenge, for those of you that don't know. We're doing a BMAC swap meet and 3D shoot. So swap meet, for those of you who have no idea what a swap meet is, which I'm learning there's a lot of people that don't know what a swap meet is. So it's where you can bring your hunting and archery gear that's sitting in your basement. I have a bunch around me here, or in your garage, that's been collecting dust because I hate selling things online. and I have a lot of gear that I've collected over the years. So you can bring your gear to sell, to trade with other people. Um, or if you're new to archery or you're thinking about going out west for your first hunt and you don't know where to start and you don't want to spend a lot of money on gear, this is a perfect place to come and see what people have. You might be able to get some really good deals on stuff that will set you up for an elk hunt or maybe your first whitetail hunt. I know of people that are bringing gear, tree stands, they're bringing bows, they're bringing tents, they're bringing sleeping bags. I mean, a lot of different stuff. So that's kind of what a swap meet is. So we're having that on the 22nd of May at Tyrrell Basin. And then we're also incorporating a 3D shoot of a 20 target 3D course setup that people can shoot. What else? We'll have Vector Custom Shop Arrows is going to be there. You can shoot some of their arrows, kind of play around with them. We'll have some other vendors there as well. Just going to be a good time. It's going to be Tyrrell Basin's kind of opening kickoff weekend for the summer. They're going to have their tavern open. We're trying to get a band lined up for Saturday night to have some live music and stuff. So it's just kind of a kickback, laid back time. So we have an event like that. And then our next event on June 12th and 13th is the BMAC Games. The BMAC Games is really an all-encompassing event where we're going to test archers' strength, stamina, endurance, their shooting abilities. It's a multi-stage 2-day event at Tyrrell Basin. Really looking forward to that. I think we have almost 50 people signed up for that. It's capped at 100. Yeah, that's like a big event. So last year's event, BMAC Games, looked a lot different than this year. We had to cap it at 35 people because of COVID numbers in our county. We couldn't have, I had to keep people separated. It looked a lot different. So this year it's going to be what I want it to be. So, yeah.
So with that being said, then, I mean, this is kind of like the Summer Olympics of like archery challenges, right? I mean,
right.
What do you say to the guy that thinks he's just going to show up and do okay? Is it going to be a humbling experience? And the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm pretty sure I commented at one point that I'm just going to show up on one of your posts.
It's you will have fun. Okay, here's to a person that probably hasn't trained much,
nope,
or at all, but you love archery and you want to be fit or you want to be active and do something to motivate you and something to do, right? So here's what you're going to get out of it. Number one, you're going to have fun. Number two, you're going to meet a group of people that are going to cheer you on and will be a very close-knit family by the time the event is over with. That is really what these events are about, is bringing like-minded people together that have a passion and love bow hunting and the outdoors. And we want to push ourselves to be the best that we can be. Yes, it's a competition. Yes, we're going to award the top male and female and people in each age group. But really, those guys that are on the podium are going to be cheering you on just as much as the people on the sidelines cheering you on. I mean, that's what's so cool about these events, that I have a hard time explaining it until people actually come and experience it for the first time. You really have no idea what type of close-knit family it is. But we have people, we have guys that are signed up that I think the oldest guy is in his 60s. Dave, is he 6? No, he might be 50s. I don't want to, hopefully he's not listening. But Dave he had 2 knee replacements last year, and he's coming out and doing it. He's not going to be the fastest guy, but he's going to finish it. So that's what's cool, is that we have elite athletes that are doing this that would probably challenge any elite. Not saying that they're more fit than Cam Hanes, but if guys like them showed up, some of these guys that you have no idea who they are because they're not on social media, but they are true hardcore athletes, and they love bow hunting, they will be there. And then yet we still have guys that had knee replacements or have had a broken back or haven't worked out, but they're going to use this as motivation to start to kind of kickstart their workout for this hunting season. So it's really all across the board. So you're going to have a good time. You're going to learn probably where your weaknesses are, whether that be fitness wise or shooting. You know, the stage, what I call the harvest stage, the 3D shoot. It's not your typical 3D shoot that you might go to at a local club. Every shot has a unique scenario that you might encounter when hunting. So it might be a shot where you have 20 seconds to get from where you're standing to where the shooting stake is. And where you're standing right now, you can't see the target. You have no idea what the target is. But you have 20 seconds to rush up, range find it, and make the shot. Okay. Odds are it's going to be like an elk or something like that to kind of mimic, you know, an elk over the ridge bugling, and you're going to get up there. You make eye contact, or you get your eyes on the target, and you make the shot. So, but my point is that a lot of different scenarios. It's not a boring 3D shoot. I guess we probably should go over exactly all the stages if you want. You want to break that up?
No, totally.
Okay.
And the other thing is I'm kind of curious. So the whole time your bow is either on your pack or in your hand, right?
Right. So the first stage, Saturday morning, is what I call the beast course. So the beast course is going to be for the Wisconsin event. We have one in Wisconsin, one in Pennsylvania, but the Wisconsin event is going to be around a 5K. Right now, it's about 3.1, 3.2 miles, give or take a little bit. You're going to have your pack. And for a guy your age, you're under 40, right? You're a young guy.
Well, not that young, but creeping up on it.
So you're going to have a pack, and you're going to have to be responsible to have a pack that weighs 40 pounds. Okay. And then that course, you can either carry your bow in your hand or you can strap it to your backpack. I recommend having trekking poles and probably boots or something with good ankle stability, because I take you over the most challenging 3 miles that Tyrrell Basin has to offer. You're going to be running up, I say running, probably walking, hiking up a drainage ditch that will probably have water in it if it rains beforehand. You're going to be running up, again, hiking up a double black diamond slope. So here in southern Wisconsin, our hills aren't real long, but they're very, very steep. So what I mean by length, they might be 2 to 250 foot in elevation change, but you might only be horizontally moving 50 yards. So very, very steep terrain. Not real long climbs, but very, very steep. So that's the beast course. We'll probably have 1 or 2 targets that you're going to have to shoot on that course. So it's going to be up to you if you strategize, if you put the bow on your pack so you can move quicker, or do you keep it in your hand so you don't have to fumble around with taking your bow off your pack when it comes to the target you have to shoot. There's also going to be new for this year, a portion or a spot on that course where you're going to have to stop and use your binoculars to spot something. Okay. I'm not going to say what it is until game time, but it's going to be something where you're going to have to look with your binoculars and you're going to have to write down. It's going to be obvious what it is, but you're not going to be able to see it with the naked eye. And you're going to have to write that down on pen and paper. Because then after the end of that first stage, the beast course, you'll have your time that it took you to complete that. Okay. And then depending on how you shot the targets, you're going to get a time penalty or a bonus. And then if you were able to identify the object that I have there with your binoculars, you'll get a time bonus if you identified it, or a penalty if you didn't. So that's the first stage. Second stage is what I call the pursuit stage. That's kind of where we're going to replicate that higher intensity training, where it might be that last 5 minutes, we're going after that bugling bull and we got to get after him. So we're going to do exercises or challenges that we would replicate in the wilderness. So we're going to have a hoist. So that hoist is going to replicate, lifting up your meat bag or lifting up your food bag to keep it away from the bears or something like that. So it's going to be a weight that you're going to have to hoist up, probably 10 or 15 feet. You probably have to do that a few times. Okay. And then you'll make a shot on a target. Then you'll move to the next challenge, which might be a sled drag to replicate dragging that big buck out of the woods, right? We're not always have the weight on our pack, so we might be dragging that weight Might have to drag that sled 100 yards or 200 yards and make a shot. Then we will have an over under, because with hunting public land, I know we've all encountered deadfall. So going up and over, having to crawl underneath stuff, that's all a part of hunting. So we're going to have some over under obstacles that you'll have to be able to maneuver and again make a shot. We'll have some type of balance, hopefully some type of balance obstacle. That's what we're going to be working on this next week, is setting up if we can get our hands on some telephone poles or something and be able to the balance across that, just like if we're my buddy John and I, we had to walk across a downfall tree over a creek to get to the other side. So again, things that we would encounter, whether it be here in the Midwest or out west, it's going to be a fast-paced course. Might last 5 to 10 minutes to complete that, with 4 targets on that course. So again, you'll have your time that you completed it and then how well you shot. So people are going to be like, well, how does the scoring work for the targets? You will be, if you shoot a lung, that's a vital. There's no time penalty or bonus. If you shoot a heart, then you'll get a time bonus. So you might get maybe 3 minutes taken off of your overall time. If you shoot a body, it might be a 3-minute penalty, and a miss would be maybe a 2-minute penalty. So we penalize more for a body than a miss, because in real world situations, if you hit a body, wound an animal, it's going to take you a lot longer. You're going to be tracking that animal. You don't know if it's a fatal wound. You're going to be looking, it just takes you a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we give a more of a penalty for a body than a miss. So that's the second stage, the pursuit stage. Third stage, which will be Saturday afternoon, early evening, is the harvest stage, basically the 3D shoot that we're talking about. So a 15 to 20 target 3D course that you'll be traversing through the hills of Tyrol Basin, or out in Pennsylvania. It's a very hilly venue that we have out there. So we'll have a lot of shots where we're shooting off of a cliff. We'll have steep uphill shots, shots where it might be angled, maybe a quarter and away shot, whatever it might be. So the third stage is a 3D shoot. And then for the Wisconsin event, Sunday morning is the pack out stage. So that's where we're going to have the heavy pack. So for a guy like you, you're going to have 80 pounds on your bag.
Nice.
That you're going to have to pack up the hill. So I think for men, the open men 40 and under, it's 80. For guys 40 and over, it's 70, and 50 and over, it's 60. So I tailor the weight depending on your age group. Same with women. I think women's open is 60 pounds, and it drops to 50 and 40. I can't remember, all that's on the website, but so that's the pack out stage. You won't have to carry your bow, but you're gonna have to carry a lot of weight. There's the option to sign up as a team, and right now I think we have 10 teams signed up. So the advantage of signing up as a team, you do the beast course, the first 3 stages you do together, okay, and your score counts together. So if you have a really fast guy as a teammate and you're a couch potato, the couch potato's time is going to count. So you have to cross the finish line at the same time. Ooh. So you do things as a team. It's you and your hunting partner. You're stuck together for the duration of your hunt, and everything is going to count together. So, except for when it comes to the pack out stage. So for you, 80 pounds, if for guys that haven't been training a lot, and this seems like a lot of weight, find a buddy and sign up, because you get to split that weight for the pack out. So you would have to carry 40, and your buddy would have to carry 40.
So what if could you get like a bonus, or like take time away from your time or something if you say I'm going to carry 100 pounds or something like that instead?
Well, you know what? I just decided on 80 pounds last week. I was going to do 100 pounds because it's 100 pounds. It just sounds like
that could mess some people up though if they're not ready for that.
I mean, right. And it really came down to the same guys that are going to probably win with 80 pounds would win with 100 pounds.
Right.
I'm watching out for the guys that haven't been training a lot, because most guys under 40 can handle 80 pounds even if you haven't been training. Yeah, it's going to suck. It's not going to feel well.
It's only unpleasant for like the first 3 miles. Then after that, you can't feel it anyway.
Well, the pack out stage is going to be short.
Oh, okay.
It's probably, I'm not going to say how long. It's going to be short. Short relative to the B scores. It's not going to be 3 miles long.
Okay.
Okay. It's probably going to be a trip up to the top of the ski hill. We might do some meandering to get up there. It may not be a straight shot, but it's not going to be a real long course. I'm not having people go downhill with that weight. It's going to be all uphill, because that's when people can get injured, is going downhill with 80 or 100 pounds on their back. That's especially during a competition. I mean, you have guys during the Train to Hunt championship a few years ago that I competed in. We had 100 pounds on our back, and we're running and doing stupid things because we wanted to get there. But my number one worry is that somebody gets injured.
Yeah.
I do not want anybody to get injured at this. I want people to have fun and to push themselves. So people have to be smart when they do this. They have to know their boundaries, right? If you have to stop and take a break, take a break, so that's why I brought it down from my initial thought of 100 pounds to 80 pounds, because I'm like, most people can handle that, and just less likely for people to hurt themselves.
No, I totally agree with that. That is something that, if somebody's not used to that definitely could hurt them. I like to think that it's a Midwest pack out, not a West pack out, but it's definitely shorter than your average Western pack out, right? For most people, I guess. I don't know, but
right. Well, I do have so I have 2 divisions for the BMAC games. I have the Mountain Beast and I have the Covert Beast. So the Covert Beast division is for the kind of the Midwestern hunter. Everything is the same. You use less weight for the first 3 stages. So for men's open, I think instead of 40, it's 30 pounds. And then for the pack out stage on Sunday, you're not packing out, you're dragging out. So you're going to have a heavy sled that you would drag. So at least it's not on your back or on your back. But to be honest with you, out of the almost 50 people we have signed up, only 2 people are signed up for that division.
So if anybody's listening and you're in shape and you think you could do it, you might be a shoe-in if you want an easy win. But who wants that, right? I mean, let's face it. If you want to compete, you want to be the competitor, not the guy who shows up to get the participation trophy. But
right. I might do away with the Covert division if nobody else signs up for that in the next couple of weeks. I might contact these 2 people that are signed up and say, hey, how about you bump up to the Beast division, and if you're worried about that weight, how about you 2 form a team together? So, and you can form co-ed teams, and you can have teams of different age groups.
Ooh, so that would be a bonus, right?
Yeah. So if you signed up, let's say the both of us signed up as a team, you're under 40, I'm over 40. So you would only carry 40 pounds, because that's half the 80 pounds that's required of you. Since I'm over 40, I'm going to be carrying 70 pounds, but only half of that would be 35. So that's kind of how the teams break up. So people of different age groups and male and female can sign up, and then you are responsible for carrying the weight of your actual division and category. So
nice. So
complex. I know I'm making it much more complex.
I got to be honest though. I mean, I think I would rather do a pack out than a drag out, because if there's one thing that shows you what physical condition you're in November or October, is when you do that drag out. It could be a half mile or just a couple 100 yards through some really rough terrain, and that shows you where you're at with your physical fitness. There's no getting around it. Plus you got all your other crap on your back, right? Unless you're the guy that goes back for it. I don't know. Normally when I do this, I just want it one and done and get out of the woods, and it gets tough.
It's very tough. I mean, my buddy John, he shot a buck, public land, this past, I think it was Halloween weekend, and it was not too far from my house. He called me and said, hey, I got a buck on the ground. He was at least 1.5 miles back in. and it's a swamp, so it's pretty flat, but it was all kind of gently sloping downhill from the
Yep.
parking lot. I tell you what, that bucket took us over an hour and a half to drag out. And we both had our initial ascent packs.
I saw
We
the pictures, man.
Yeah, because we thought that. I was like, all right, let's quarter it out and carry it on. I was like, but John, I was like, I have this crazy idea for the BMAC games this coming year. So I want to test out just to see how much of a suck fest it is to drag this deer a mile and a half to the car. So instead of packing it out in our packs, we drug it out in a sled. And it was a suck fest. I mean, people think that just dragging something is going to be a lot easier, but
No.
it is not.
Well, that's like, so my deer this year, one of them that I got, I had to drag it. It was only about 200 yards to my canoe. And my canoe with the gear and me in it went just fine over like 2 inches of water, maybe 3. I don't know. But by the time I put my gear and the deer in it and started dragging that canoe back out, I couldn't get that canoe out through the mud. And I sunk straight in that mud all the way up to my knees. And I had to push that another probably like 60 yards through the mud. It was absolutely terrible. And I just kept thinking the whole time, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is crazy. How am I going to get around this? And it was just, there wasn't anything I could do like with a mechanical advantage or anything that would have made a difference at that point. And it was like, man, I'm just going to have to suck it up, go through it. And it was literal inch at a time until I got that thing out. And then it was just like sweet freedom. My pants are covered. Everything's covered in mud, but I'm in there and I'm finally just like push pulling out.
That's awesome. And it tastes so much better now, right?
It was totally, I mean, it felt earned. You know what I mean? Like it totally
Right.
felt earned because just the whole experience every morning going in, doing that, trying to get into that spot and just fighting it. And yeah, it was awesome though. It was totally awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, so we have that event in June 12th and 13th. The following weekend, I'm doing a beast mode trail trek at Tyrrell Basin. Um, Basically, just a trail run. I'm trying something new for that. And then June 26th and 27th, we have the BMAC games in Pennsylvania. So we'll be out there at the Meadowcroft Rock Shelter and Historic Village in Western PA. So that will be a 1-day event on June 26th, the BMAC Games. So it'll be a modified BMAC Games from Wisconsin. It'll be the first 3 stages. We won't probably be doing the pack out stage. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a 40 target 3D course out there. So it's two separate events on one weekend in Pennsylvania. So looking forward to that. Hopefully get some people registered and sign up for that coming up here pretty soon. Then after that, then we have our big 3D shoot here in Wisconsin, July 30th through August 1st, and that's what we call the King of the Hill 3D. And we had that last year. We had about 100.
Is that physical stuff or is it just a 3D shoot?
Nope, that's just a 3D shoot. The only physical part is it's going to be a physically challenging course to walk on.
At Tyrrell Basin still, or is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that one's at Tyrrell Basin. So that event is a 3-day event. You can sign up for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. I guess for those listeners, I've done like a Total Archery Challenge or a Mountain Archery Fest. It's kind of laid out like that, where you have a shoot time that you sign up for just to keep, so there's not a lot of congestion on the course. We hope to have live music Saturday night and some other festivities going on that entire weekend. So we had about 140 shooters at it last year, and they all loved it. And they all said they're coming back with more buddies. So that's why
awesome.
we opened up. We opened it up on Friday instead of just Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday through Sunday now. And yeah, it's a great time. It's laid back. You can keep score if you want. But you're shooting targets on terrain that you usually don't get to shoot on. That kind of simulates Western hunting. The shots are difficult shots for the most part. Bring a lot of arrows.
I hate that.
So But no, it's a great time. It's like I said, it's laid back. That's kind of the thing with my events. Yeah, the BMAC games, it's a competition, but it's also kind of laid back in a way too. My 3D shoots, I've shot a lot of 3D events in my life, from money shoots to laid back grassroots type shoots, and I like the combination of the two. I like the laid back style, but also having awards, or maybe some events where maybe some of my scrambles or some of my smaller events we have cash payouts or whatever, but it's usually geared towards the bow hunter. I haven't had any events yet that have been geared towards the target archer, just because bow hunting is that's what I am, that's who I am, that's what I want to stand for, and those are the types of people that I want to support and have cool events, because there's a lot of events out there for the target archers, but there's not a lot of great events for you know
The
the
hunter.
average
Yeah.
bow, yeah, the hunter. So
No, that's awesome. So I appreciate you coming on and telling us about the events and kind of answering some questions about fitness, and hopefully, it helps somebody with their kind of their journey. And if they need some advice or counseling or coaching, where can they find you? And then also maybe tell us where they can, once again, the dates for your events coming out.
you bet. So I have two Instagram pages, GFB Outdoors and Beast Mode Archery. The GFB Outdoors is more geared towards the fitness and training, and obviously Beast Mode Archery is more about the events and stuff like that. On Facebook, again, Beast Mode Archery. And then I believe my other one, it's not GFB Outdoors. I think it's Get Fit with Brian if they search that. On YouTube, um, I should pop up if you just search Brian Austin, or if you search Beast Mode Archery, that should pop up. But I only have one YouTube channel, and I think it's just under my personal name for that. But on YouTube, I have a lot of videos from the different events, past and future, and some workout exercises. I have a workout video on there where I just use the initial ascent backpack. So I have a lot of different stuff on the YouTube channel. Um, Email beastmodearchery@gmail.com if they want to email me. Yeah, that's the best way to reach out. My cell number is on my website. If they want to call, feel free to call. Texting is the best way if they have a question that they want me to get back to right away, especially if it's about the event or something coming up. But most of that stuff can be found at beastmodearcherychallenge.com. Is a website where they can learn all about all the different events that we have, the dates, the registration is on there. GFBOutdoors.com is my other website for my personal training and fitness stuff. I know I have too much crap that I
No,
have
it's
to
all
keep
good, man. It's all good.
organized. But yeah, the date. So May 22nd is the swap meet and 3D shoot at Tyro Basin. On that Sunday, we'll probably do a pack hike, and I might open up the 3D course for a few hours as well too, if people want to come shoot on that Sunday. Oh, I forgot, on that Saturday during the swap meet, we're also doing a clinic. My buddy John is doing a clinic on saddle hunting, on how to hunt out of a tree saddle using the trophy line tree saddles. Just the benefit, maybe the pluses and minuses to tree saddle hunting and stuff like that. So we have that going on. And then I'm also doing a clinic, because doing what I do and training people and doing these events, that's something I see a lot of people doing wrong, is how to pack your pack correctly,
Mm.
both for the events, but then also for hunting as well too. So that makes a huge difference in the comfort of doing the events and backcountry hunting, is making sure your pack is packed correctly. So we got that at the swap meet. June 12th and 13th is the BMAC games, again at Tyro Basin here in Wisconsin. Again, registration, you can find out all the info at beastmodearcherychallenge.com. June 19th is the Beast Mode Trail Trek, something new that I'm doing. Haven't really promoted it yet, but that's going to be basically a trail run at Tyro Basin, probably a very similar, if not the same course from the previous weekend. June 26th and 27th, BMAC games in Pennsylvania. Again, that's on the website, in Western Pennsylvania. We have the BMAC games on Saturday and a 40 target 3D shoot on Sunday. 2 separate events. If you want to sign up for one or the other or both, people can do that. And then July 29th, or I'm sorry, July 30th through August 1st is the King of the Hill 3D, the big fun 3D shoot here in Wisconsin. Again, that's on the website. There's tee times, I call them shoot times, that you can sign up for online. And then just be looking, probably the best place to stay up to date is on my social media pages in terms of some 3D scrambles, some other 3D shoots that we're going to kind of start popping up and just doing them. I might just decide the week of or the week before, as weather permits, of just doing smaller events at Tyrol Basin. Tyrol Basin is a great venue. It's 30 minutes from my house. Nathan is become a very good friend of mine. He's the new owner. He's owned it for 3 years, and he's really turning things around there. And I got him into bow hunting, and it's just been a great relationship. And none of this wouldn't be around if we wouldn't have connected. And he's allowing for a lot of this stuff to happen. So
that's awesome. No, I think like your area, where you live in Tyrol Basin and all that, it's probably one of the places in the Midwest that can closely replicate things out in the West. I mean, no, it's not the same, but as close as we're going to get, right? I mean, as far as the Midwest, without the exception of a few, but like, Illinois, you don't really have too many places like that are that big. So that's pretty cool. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing all the things that you did share, and talking about your events. Hopefully, people show up and it's an awesome thing, and who knows, maybe I'll even be there too.
Well, I think, not to put you on the spot here, buddy, but but we have 4.5 weeks. It's 4 weeks from this coming Saturday is the BMAC games. So you have 4 weeks to train. Okay. I think your listeners want to see you compete. I mean, just from the listeners that I know around here that listen to your podcast are like, is this guy going to come do this or what? Huh? So
we'll see. We'll see.
I think you're going to have to come and participate and get a feel for it firsthand.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see we'll see if we can make it happen. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the listeners listening. And just thank you for this opportunity.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.